They said she appeared out of nowhere, an ordinary face in an extraordinary time. One rain-soaked night in 1943, a woman in a dark trench coat stepped from the shadows of a Paris alleyway, pressed a small sealed envelope into the hands of a resistance fighter, whispered just 3 words, "For your future," and then vanished. No one saw her leave. No one knew her name, yet the message she carried that night would alter the course of the war, and her disappearance has haunted history ever since. Some call her a ghost, others a spy so brilliant she erased her own existence. But the truth? It's stranger than fiction. Paris was a city divided, one side bathed in Nazi banners, the other clinging to whispers of freedom. Resistance networks operated like veins under the city's skin, moving secrets in the dead of night. And somewhere between those shadows lived her. She was known only by the code name Nightingale. To some she was a nurse, to others a teacher, but to the Gestapo she was the most dangerous woman they could never catch. Witnesses described her differently. One soldier swore she had fiery red hair tucked beneath her hat. A market vendor said she was plain, almost forgettable. A priest insisted she wore rosary beads, though no one else ever noticed them. Whoever she was, she had a gift. She could become anyone. For months she ferried intelligence between the Allied command in London and the underground networks in France. Her movements were impossible to trace. Every time the Gestapo set a trap, she slipped through their fingers. Every coded note she delivered, every whispered name, was a thread in a web pulling tighter around the enemy. But the night she vanished was different. It was the first week of October. The Gestapo had learned of a major message in transit, a message so vital they deployed an entire squad to intercept it. The resistance courier scheduled to receive it waited under a broken lamppost near the Seine. His nerves burned as footsteps echoed closer. Then, out of the mist, she emerged. She placed the envelope in his trembling hand. "For your future," she whispered. And just as quickly as she came, she was gone. No running, no turning. One blink, and the alley was empty. The courier swore she dissolved into the fog. Inside that envelope was intelligence outlining the exact locations of German supply lines feeding the Atlantic Wall. The fortifications Hitler believed impenetrable. That information, smuggled across the Channel, allowed the Allies to weaken defenses before D-Day. Historians say thousands of lives were spared because of it. But here's where the mystery deepens. After that night, every trace of Nightingale disappears. No more coded signals, no more sightings, no letters, no grave, nothing. Theories spread like wildfire. Some whispered she was captured and executed in secret, her body buried where no one would ever find it. Others believed she escaped to neutral Switzerland under a false identity, living the rest of her days as a school teacher, her past locked away like a nightmare. A few insisted she was never real at all. That Nightingale was a myth created by the resistance to frighten the Germans and inspire their own fighters. But then, something surfaced. In 1961, a classified file was unsealed in London. Inside was a single page. At the top, Operation Nightingale. The page was redacted, black ink blotting out nearly every line, except for one chilling sentence: "Agent disappeared following final transmission. Status, unknown." Even stranger, in the margin, scrawled in faint pencil, were the words, "Message delivered. Mission complete." Was it her own hand? A final signature? Some experts argue she was part of the Special Operations Executive, an elite network of spies, many of them women trained to sabotage and mislead the enemy. Records confirm several female agents simply vanished during missions, their fates never explained, yet no file has ever officially confirmed Nightingale's real name. And then came the most unsettling discovery. In the late 1980s, a French historian claimed to have found a letter hidden in the archives of a burned-out farmhouse once used by the resistance. The ink had faded, the paper fragile. It read, "If you read this, I am gone. Do not look for me. My name was never mine. My face, never mine. But know this, I did not die in vain. The world you inherit is my legacy. Remember not who I was, but what I gave." No signature. The handwriting, however, bore eerie similarities to a sample from a woman arrested in Lyon in 1942. A woman who was released under mysterious circumstances and never seen again. So who was she? A trained operative? A master of disguise? Or something else entirely? An unsung hero, whose true identity was sacrificed so the mission could live on? The most haunting part of her story is this. The resistance courier, who received the envelope that night, was interviewed decades later. When asked if he ever doubted she was real, he smiled faintly and said, "I felt her hand in mine, cold, firm, alive. She was no ghost. She was flesh and blood. But she was never meant to stay. She belonged to the shadows." And maybe that's the answer. Some heroes are remembered by names etched in stone. Others by medals on display. But the greatest heroes, the ones who change history with a single act, a single message, and then step back into the fog, never asking for recognition. The mystery of the woman spy who vanished after delivering a message remains unsolved. Her file still marked unknown. Her face lost to history. Yet her shadow lingers, stitched into the fabric of freedom itself. Perhaps in some quiet corner of France, her story lives in whispers. Or maybe she walks among us even now, her identity buried so deep that not even she speaks of it. All we know for certain is this. One night, in the midst of war, a nameless woman carried the weight of the future in her hands, and when her mission was complete, she disappeared, leaving behind a silence louder than gunfire, and a question that will never die. Who was Nightingale?